TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Any good Iron Sheik stories from around this era?
Oh, you didn't want to go there. The Iron Sheik was beautiful. The Iron Sheik was beautiful. First time, in fact, you saw him today.
Yeah.
And I walked in, you heard the story.
Yeah.
First time he's, going to work with George Steele. And he says to Nikolai Volkov, I wasn't there. He goes, what am I going to do with this animal? Like, you don't take a suplex, you don't do this, you don't do this, you don't do nothing. Nikolai said, just listen, and you'll have a great match. We come, and I didn't know this conversation, so we come back afterwards. And he's all, oh, thank you, because we had him screaming, USA, USA, USA. And he didn't have to take a suplex. They didn't have to get kicked in the teeth. Later on, if you ever notice, he's got false teeth up here now. They used to be real loose, you know, and then when they fell out,
right.
Front teeth. I got them.
Wow.
Boom, I'm the one that got them. So it happened in Toronto. And I was going to use a chair on him. And I grabbed a chair that wasn't a folding chair, it was, a sitting chair.
Right.
So I'm going to bring it down this way. And in our business, you got to trust your opponents. The Sheik and Nikolai are the biggest blockers in the world. So as I'm coming down with that chair, his hands go up here. And so I come back after the match, and he says, you're knocking my teeth. You almost knocking my teeth out. What do you do? I said, no, you almost knocking your teeth out. He says, what do you mean? I said, well, I got a chair. I brought it right here. You put your hands up to block it, right? Yeah. I said, all right. You block it here. Where does the back go? He said, in my mouth. I said, you knocked your teeth out. He says, you're right, George. I'm sorry. The guy that I got a lot of respect for was the model,
Rick Martel?
Rick Martel. Because we're telling you, Rick early on was a great worker, ring technician, call him and tell a story. Now he's doing the same match every night, and it's a routine, like I call that performing instead of working. And I talked to him and I said, why are you doing the same match every night? He said, George, we fly every morning. We get to a town, we go to the gym, we do our diet, we do a workout, we do whatever we got to do, and then we go to the ring. He said, that's one thing I don't have to worry, because I know what I'm doing. So the business had changed. No one was working anymore. So, that's why I say that.
And how did you get into the movie? Well, actually, right before we talk about Ed Wood's, WrestleMania 4, who came up with the idea of the mind puppet?
That's funny. That's a great question, too. Hillbilly Jim used to travel by himself. And he always carried an unstuffed animal with him. It was called Earl, the unstuffed dead dog, or whatever. Earl the dead cat.
Right.
Earl the dead cat had it looked like he'd been run over by a car and his eyes were crossed. He always threw that in his bed. Well, me and my wife would stand next door to him. He called us over and said, always loved Jimmy. He says, that thing, I said, what's that? He said, that's my Earl the dead cat, my traveling partner. I don't need a woman, I got my cat. I looked at him, I said, can I use that tonight? He said, what for? I said, can I use it tonight? I don't have to tell you my whole life. Can I use it? So I'm doing an interview with Mean Gene. And he's asking me questions, and I got it behind. He doesn't know I got it. I think to pull ribs on me. I never told him anything about his character stuff. So he's asking me about the match, and I'm going, Earl! He asked me something else. Earl! I'm not wrestling Earl. And he said something. Finally, I said, Earl, dead cat! And I pulled the dead cat out, and he flipped out, and the fans at home, went crazy because there's this stuff animal. Well, Vince sees it. Next TV comes over and says, Jim, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? He says, you're selling the heck out of Earl the Dead Cat. Why don't we come up with your own gimmick that we can sell that makes some money? I said, well, what would that be? He says, I don't know. You design it. So I designed mine. Right. I named it mine because when kids fight over a toy, what do they say? Mine! What does George say? Mine! And we had it so that it had the Velcro on it. So it hit the ring and it would go like this here. And I was getting too old to take a bump.
Right.
So I'd have my opponent get mad at me and take the doll and kick it. And when they kick the doll, I would sell it. They'd kick it again, I'd sell it. Huh. And then they could come back. No bumps, just make it come back. They took the bumps. So mine doll carried my career another 2 years.
I was going to ask you, why did you end up leaving? And did you leave on good terms?
That's when I got sick.
Okay.
That's when I got sick. I left on great terms. I became an agent. I told you earlier, I never called and asked for anything. Right. Vince called me and wanted me to be an agent. This is after I'd been out about a year and a half, 2 years, real sick. And I told him no. I said, I've always been one of the boys, and to be an agent, you got to be a stooge. And there's no way that George Steele's a stooge. Can't do that. Right. And we went back and forth for about an hour. And then he said, talk to your wife. She's smarter than you are. And I'll call you back tomorrow and let's see. He says, because I really want you to be an agent. So he called me back the next day, and I talked to my wife. She said, what do you want to do? I said, I don't want to do that. It's just a bunch of crap, and I don't want to put up with the boys. I don't want to do that. So I told him, I said, I don't want to do that. He said, well, why not? I said, well, because number one, you want your agents to be stooges on the boys. And I said, I'm one of the boys. I don't want to go that direction. And you want to hear what you want to hear, not necessarily what's going on. And that's not the way I play the game, Vince. He said, that's why I want you. He said, that's exactly why I'm calling you. I need somebody that'll tell us what's going on and be straight with us and straight with the boys. No BS about it whatsoever. He said, and I know how much you love the business. I know how much you respect the business. And that's why I want you to be an agent. He said, try it for 3 months. This is after about 15 minutes. Try it for 3 months, and if you don't like it, we'll just shake hands and say goodbye. I'm dyslexic. I'm very dyslexic.
Right.
So now he's got me counting money. So the first night I was like $1,000 short or some crazy thing, $100 short. So you give a report. I told him, I said, well, you want me counting your money? You lost 100 tonight, jerk. You know? But he understood that. And so he had me doing the money end of it for like 3 months, and I hated it because I'm every night it's like, that.
All right.
And so I was ready to quit, and he said, well, I'm going to make you the head agent, and you're going to be over the shows. Use your knowledge there. I really fell in love with that. I really liked it. Unfortunately, at that point in time, we started bringing some people in that thought they were bigger than the business.
I was going to ask you, did anybody give you any problems?
Well, they're not really problems. They were problems for themselves, but it was a pain in the butt. And
Any names?
yeah, there's a lot of names. But I felt like they didn't respect the business. Kayfabe was dead, so it might have been me out of sync with what was going on. Because I'm old school. And we used to have a dog by the name of Matilda that the Bulldogs had. Well, the big guy, the big muscle, the big strong guy that wrestled him all the time, wore the black pads. Names don't mean diddly to me. Anyhow,
He gimmicked the dog, right?
yeah. He'd bring the dog to the show. He'd walk through the people carrying Matilda. The Matilda would change him.
Ahmed Johnson?
No. This guy, he was the big Samoan's partner for tag team.
Warlord?
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to think of. The Warlord.
Right.
And he'd bring Matilda in through the crowd. I mean, it's like that. And then the guys were traveling together, and they were this, and all those years that I never saw Bruno in public.
Right.
All the time we talked, I never saw him in public. And we were very close friends. So it might have been me out of touch more than them.
They brought you back a couple times, and I think you were part of the Oddities, like a one-shot.
Yeah, the oddest of the oddities. We didn't even get into my learning disabilities and all that, which is a whole other story. Sometime we might do that. It's pretty powerful stuff. It's the basis for the whole character of George Steele, because I really lived it as a kid. Really? It was a real deal. Playing football, I almost lost my tongue. Sticking my tongue up with 4 face masks, and I couldn't talk in high school for about a year. And the teacher asked me if a new teacher come in the second semester. Our teacher got pregnant, and then a new teacher come in, and she had the kids stand up and tell their name and a little bit about themselves. And I just bit my tongue off in October, and this was like January. I couldn't shut my mouth. It was swollen, and it was black. They didn't know if it was going to take or not. They put a disc in there. That's why I have a little lisp.
Right.
And and I was dyslexic, so I had a learning disability on top of it. And she asked me to stand up, and all the kids to stand up and tell their name, what they were going to do for Christmas, or what they did for Christmas. I said, "Mama," and she said, "Sit down, dummy. You can't even talk."
Ooh.
And I didn't speak again until I was a sophomore in college. I wouldn't talk in classes or anything. In fact, because I had a learning disability, they would send me to the gym. So I become a great athlete.
Right.
Not necessarily a great student, but I do have hours beyond my master's toward my doctorate. So, for being a dummy, I did all right.
Is there anything you want?
TitleMatchNetwork.com